They say in the village of Ijele, the wind always carries secrets, but none as dark as the one that brewed in the home of Chief Duru and his gentle wife, Mama Ifunanya. Living under their roof was Amara, a 20-year-old maid whose beauty veiled a dangerous ambition. She had long cast envious eyes on her madam's place, and within her heart, she nurtured a ruthless vow to dethrone Ifunanya and sit in her place as mistress of the house. It began weeks ago when she lured Chief Duru into her bed one lonely night, while Ifunanya was away caring for her ailing father. That moment sparked a fire Amara wasn't willing to let die. Now that Ifunanya was away again for 2 full weeks, Amara believed her opportunity had come. Her mind boiled with a wicked plan to seduce the chief again, but this time to trap him with pregnancy. That child, she believed, would be her anchor into the household. But that was not all. Tomorrow she would journey to the village of Okochi, where her native spiritualist awaited, ready to perform the dark rituals needed to drive Ifunanya out for good. But tonight, her only goal was to awaken the chief's body and bind him to her will. In the kitchen, Amara stirred a pot of spicy egusi soup, her fingers trembling with excitement as she slipped a pinch of fire root powder, a potent blend said to awaken deep desire into the broth. Once he tastes this, she whispered to herself with a crooked smile, his body will call only for me. She packed the food neatly into his flask, her heart pounding with anticipation. Later that evening, Chief Duru returned from his office, shoulders sagging from a long day. As a senior official at the capital ministry, he was used to endless files and ceaseless demands. The quiet of the house was odd, even unsettling, but he chalked it up to his wife's absence. Ifunanya had called earlier, saying her father's condition had worsened, and she would need more time in the village. He hadn't expected to miss her this much. Amara greeted him with warm words and served his food quickly, her eyes locked on him as he ate, unaware of the enchantment sliding down his throat. After dinner, Duru made his way to the bathroom, hoping a shower would ease his fatigue. But the moment the water touched his skin, a strange fire ignited in his belly. Desire rushed through him like hot wine. His breathing deepened, his mind clouded, and he gripped the edge of the sink to steady himself. "What's wrong with me?" he muttered. "Is it because Ifunanya isn't here?" Yet something within him knew this wasn't natural. Meanwhile, Amara stood naked in her room, preparing to enter the bathroom and present herself as the solution to his burning. She reached for the handle, trembling with excitement, but froze. Fear tightened her chest. Her heart thudded so loudly she thought the walls would hear it. For a long moment, she stood paralyzed. Then, retreating, she threw on a scandalously revealing gown made of netted fabric that exposed more than it covered. Without undergarments, her body was on full display. She moved to the chief's bedroom and sat on his bed, legs crossed, waiting. When she heard his steps, she quickly grabbed a rag and pretended to be dusting. The door opened. Chief Duru stepped in, and the moment his eyes landed on her, the fire in his body surged. The powder had done its work. Every fiber of him screamed to claim her. But instead, he clenched his fists, jaw tightening as he turned his face away. "You tricked me once. It won't happen again," he snapped. "Out, now." Amara inched closer, but Duru sidestepped her, grabbed his shirt, wallet, and car keys, and stormed out of the house without another word. He didn't stop until he reached his car, started it, and sped away into the night. At a nearby hotel, he collapsed on the bed, chest heaving, mind reeling. The desire still raged within him, but it was no longer stronger than his conscience. He knew something had been done to him, his instinct screamed it. Back at the house, Amara's smirk had crumbled into a sob. She wept bitterly, staring at her reflection. "Am I not beautiful enough?" she cried, but sorrow soon twisted into rage. "It's her, that wife of his heart still belongs to her. But once I visit Baba Muo, she'll regret ever stepping into this world." That night, Hatred rooted itself in Amara's heart like poison ivy. She whispered curses into the wind, vowing that Ifunanya would suffer. Meanwhile, Chief Duru sat alone, drenched in sweat, grateful he had escaped the moment. He knew that if he had stayed, he might have ruined everything forever. Chief Duru sat with his back against the padded headboard of the hotel bed, his hand dragging down his face, torn by a storm of guilt. His heart pulsed with regret, and though he had resisted Amara's trap this time, the weight of what they had done once lingered like a shadow in the room. She had power over him now, not just through seduction, but through threat dangerous and real. "Dismiss me," she had said, "and I will tell your wife. I'll describe every detail, and she believed me." Her voice had been cold, fearless. Duru felt imprisoned in his own mistake, torn between confession and silence. He missed Ifunanya, missed her calm, her trust, her unwavering devotion. What if he confessed? Would she forgive him? Would she help him remove Amara from their lives for good? Or would she walk away forever? The not knowing froze him. For now, he could only choose one thing: distance. He decided to remain in the hotel until Ifunanya returned, fearing that one more night in that house would lead him to ruin. Meanwhile, Amara sat alone in the grand house, seething as night deepened and Chief Duru failed to return. Her seduction had failed, and fury began to rise like boiling oil. She wasn't going to let this slip through her fingers. If desire didn't bind him, then fear would. She began to draft a new plan, one soaked in blackmail. He would give in to her, or she would ruin his life. But when another's sunrise came without his return, Amara's anger transformed into a darker resolve. She would visit her spiritual guide today. She would ensure that Ifunanya never returned. As the first rooster crowed, she packed quickly and left for her hometown of Umudike, a dusty village buried behind forest paths. By mid-morning, she stood in the shadow of the sacred grove, facing Mamankiru, the native priestess feared and respected across the region. "Tell me what you want," the woman asked, her eyes gleaming with age-old knowledge. "Get rid of his wife," Amara said, her voice sharp. "Drive her from that house forever, so I may take her place." "It will be done," said Mama Nkiru. "But for this charm to work, I need a few sacred items. A live vulture and a shoe your madam has loved and worn often." Amara's lips curved into a smile. "I will get them." She returned swiftly to the city, stole one of Ifunanya's favorite heels from the wardrobe, and returned to the village by nightfall. Meanwhile, Ifunanya, far away in her father's compound, continued her selfless care for the sick elder. She had no idea that a storm brewed behind her back. She still trusted Amara, had even spoken of sponsoring her education. To her, Amara was the perfect maid, humble, hardworking, loyal. She never saw how Amara always hovered around her husband, always listening, always close. In truth, Ifunanya's only flaw was that she trusted too easily. Back in Umudike, catching a vulture proved harder than expected. Amara paid skilled hunters who spent 3 days before bringing back one angry, flapping, and alive. With both items in hand, Amara returned to Mamankiru, who prepared the shrine. A goat was sacrificed, incantations whispered to the ancient spirits, and as the ritual climaxed, the priestess held the vulture aloft, chanting Ifunanya's name 5 times before releasing the bird into the wind. "It is done," she said, her voice like thunder. "That bird will find her, and she will never return." The vulture, as if guided by an unseen force, soared through the clouds, past riverbanks and over the red rooftops, finally arriving at Ifunanya's father's compound at the stroke of midnight. It perched on a tall tree in the center of the yard, silent and watchful. Inside, Ifunanya slept peacefully, unaware of the spirit that had come for her. As dawn approached, the vulture let out a loud, eerie cry. Ifunanya sat up immediately, startled. It called again. Strangely, no one else stirred, not her mother, not her siblings. Only she could hear its summons. Drawn by something she didn't understand, she rose, barefoot and dazed, and stepped outside. The vulture launched from the tree, flapping powerfully, toward the edge of the forest. Without thinking, Ifunanya followed. The dark magic had tied her soul to the creature's path. Wherever it went, she would follow. And by sunrise, she was gone. At the edge of a muke, perched on a sacred tree near the entrance of the deep forest. The vulture waited, its beady eyes glinting in the fading moonlight, as Ifunanya emerged barefoot from her family's compound. Drawn by a call only she could hear, the bird cried once more, and she followed, her face blank and her spirit trapped under the spell. At home, dawn broke, and the family realized she was gone. Her mother and siblings searched the compound, asked the neighbors, even went to the nearby stream, but no one had seen her. Since she was a grown woman, many assumed she had stepped out early without informing anyone. But Ifunanya was not nearby. She had followed the vulture past the yam fields and the cassava ridges, through the narrow paths where mourning farmers greeted her, though she never responded. One farmer, familiar with her, waved and offered water. When she walked past without a glance, he paused, confused, but said nothing and returned to his weeding. By midday, the possessed journey brought her to the border of the great forest. Her mind no longer belonged to her. The magic had replaced her will with that of the vulture. Her skin blistered from the sun, her feet bled from thorns, and her mouth was parched, yet she pressed on. When they reached a stream, the vulture drank, and so did she. She collapsed briefly on the bank, but when the vulture shrieked again, she rose, continuing the cursed journey. The forest grew thicker, and the creatures within sensed the unnatural energy. Even the mighty forest python, known to swallow antelopes whole, slithered away from her path in silence. Back in the village, the sun dipped low, and the entire household panicked. Her mother wailed, and messengers were sent. Word reached Chief Duru in the city by evening. Without a moment's hesitation, he took leave from work and rushed back to the village. That night, the youth gathered, torches lit and machetes in hand, ready to search every inch of land. Hunters joined, bringing trained dogs, and they began combing the farmlands. One old farmer pointed to a trail. "She passed here," he said. But as they followed, the dogs lost her scent. The evil charm had hidden her from both beast and man. The next day, Duru hired hunters from neighboring villages, who camped inside the forest for 3 days. Still, no sign of Ifunanya. The vulture had led her far beyond the reach of ordinary search. By the 4th day, despair spread like fire. Her family sobbed in silence, and Chief Duru refused to return home. He stayed in the village, pacing each night, unable to sleep. Finally, Ifunanya's uncle, a feared and reclusive native healer named Okadbu, summoned Duru to his hidden shrine. Behind thick curtains and the smell of burning herbs, he revealed what the spirits had shown him. "Your maid," he said, his voice like thunder underwater. "She has bound your wife. She is the one." Duru's fists clenched. "I knew it," he growled. "She would do anything to take my wife's place." The old man leaned closer, eyes gleaming. "This is not for all ears. If the spellcaster learns we are working against her, your wife may never return." Duru's heart thundered in his chest. "Please," he begged, "do something, anything. I will pay whatever it takes." But the healer shook his head. "Your money is worthless in matters of the spirit. The burden lies on you. Only the love in your heart can bring her back." Duru fell to his knees. "Tell me what I must do." The old man took a white dove from a cage, whispered chants into its feathers, then looked Duru in the eye. "I will cast a wandering spell through this bird. It will lead you to the vulture and your wife. When you find them, you must kill the vulture yourself. That is the only way to break the chain. Once the bird dies, I will reverse the spell, and your wife will be free." Duru's hands shook. "I have never hunted in the forest," he whispered. "I have never even walked past the village ridge." The old man nodded slowly. "Then, today, you will walk into the unknown, not as a man of titles, but as a husband of faith. Tell no one, not even your family. The air carries secrets, and we do not know who listens." With that, he released the dove into the air. Duru packed food, water, and a knife wrapped in cloth, then followed the bird into the shadows of the forest, not knowing what lay ahead. Just past the first farm path, his legs weakened and breath shortened. "Wait!" he cried out, but the dove flew ahead, unbothered by human fatigue. Unwavering in its path, the white dove soared ahead through thick canopies and thorny trails. And Chief Duru, with cracked lips and bloodied feet, had no choice but to press forward, teeth clenched and breath shallow. For 3 days he wandered behind it, driven by nothing but the flicker of love left in his chest. His body ached. His legs throbbed with every step. Blisters had burst open across his solace, but still he walked, even when his mind whispered doubts. "Turn back, she's gone." Yet his heart answered louder, echoing the memory of Ifunanya's gentle smile, her quiet sacrifices, her unconditional love. That memory became his fuel. The dove would rest briefly at midday and again at dusk, allowing Duru to collapse and gulp down stale water or chew bitter leaves to keep his strength. On the 7th morning, the dove landed on a tall tree swaying in the breeze. Duru's eyes followed its perch, and beneath it, on a bed of dry leaves, lay his wife, Ifunanya, pale, motionless, his breath caught. Was he too late? His knees buckled as he stumbled to her side, dropping beside her. His hands trembled as they touched her face. She was cold, still, but not lifeless. "Ifunanya," he whispered, "please wake up." There was no answer. He rested his forehead against hers, tears soaking into her skin. Then a breath, faint, shaky. Her eyelids fluttered. He gasped. Hope surged in his chest. Her eyes opened slowly, but they were vacant, as if looking through him. "It's me," he pleaded, voice cracking. "It's Duru, your husband. I came for you." But there was no recognition, no warmth, just emptiness. Then came the vulture's cry, loud and wicked, a sound that cut through the forest like lightning. Ifunanya stood as if pulled by strings, her eyes glassy. The bird circled overhead and she turned to follow it. "No!" Duru shouted, grabbing her arm. "You're not going anywhere." The vulture shrieked in rage and dove straight at him, claws spread wide, beak aimed for his face. Duru ducked, grabbing a branch from the ground. The creature spun and came again, faster. He swung, but the blow barely fazed it. It soared and dove again, this time slashing his cheek. Blood gushed, warm and fast. He staggered backward, vision blurred, the forest spinning around him. His knees hit the dirt. He was going to die. The vulture rose once more, a silent hunter. In the wind, ready to strike the killing blow. But just then Ifunanya blinked. For a moment, a spark lit behind her eyes. She saw him, not a stranger, not a shadow. She saw her husband. Love surged through her heart like a river breaking its dam. The spell cracked. Her body trembled as she bent and seized a stick. With all her might, she swung at the vulture as it dove. Her strike hit true. The creature screeched and crashed to the ground. But the evil in its feathers quickly pulsed into her again, and the spark faded. Her hand dropped the stick. Her eyes emptied once more. Duru rose, teeth clenched, and grabbed the fallen stick. With a roar of grief and rage, he beat the vulture until its skull cracked. The forest fell silent. The dark spirit that had haunted them melted into the soil, and at last Ifunanya gasped. Her shoulders dropped, her breath deepened. She looked around, dazed, and turned to him. "Are we?" she whispered. Duru collapsed beside her, clutching her to his chest. He told her everything, the dove, the forest, the spell. When he spoke of Amara, her face darkened. Amara did this to me? Her voice quivered, part grief, part fire. Duru nodded, tears rolling freely. "It's all my fault," he whispered. "I should have sent her away. I let weakness in." Then, with trembling lips, he confessed his sin. The night he had given in to Amara, he expected fury. He expected her to walk away. But Ifunanya, whose strength was forged from love and not ego, placed her palm against his bruised face. "If you didn't love me," she said, "you wouldn't have walked through 7 days of fire to save me." Then she whispered the words that stunned him, "I forgive you." They wept in each other's arms. The storm had passed, but the forest still loomed. Their feet were swollen, their energy spent. So they stayed under the great tree for 2 more days, healing their wounds with leaves, boiling water from the stream nearby. On the 3rd morning, with limbs stiff but hearts restored, they walked home. When they entered the compound, villagers gasped in awe. Duru did not rest. Without hesitation, he threw Amara out of the house. Her screams echoed down the street, but no one came to her defense. He had learned his lesson. From that day forward, Chief Duru honored Ifunanya like a queen, not out of guilt, but from a heart rebuilt by fire. Their love, tested in the wilderness, emerged stronger than ever, shining brighter than before.